Many of us are on the edge after the big earthquake in Russia triggered tsunami warnings and watches up and down the coast last week. And then the small earthquake in Fall City just a few days ago. Believe it or not, 50 years ago in 1975, people here were also on edge as Mount Baker started to spit and steam. Historian Feliks Banel joins me now with the story of the volcano that didn't. Hello.
Good to see you. You know, everyone knows Mount St. Helens, right?
I know.
Mount St. Helens hogs all the credit for being the destructive, deadly volcano in the Northwest. 5 years before that, there was Mount Baker. It's up in Whatcom County. It's one of the Cascade volcanoes. There's about a dozen, along the west coast, and it's a beautiful spot. There's a Baker Lake is there, all these campgrounds and everything. I used to go there with my family when I was a little kid. It's this incredible spot. See, this is a rare shot of me as a child.
I was going to ask, is that
that's
you?
That's a bowl haircut by Richard Banel, my father.
I know about the bowl haircut.
I still use the same bowl. That's my late mother right there. And that's Mount Baker in the background. That's our old boat. It's a beautiful place. And in March of 1975, the operator at the dam saw a big puff of steam and ash going up into the sky.
Really?
And thought the volcano was erupting. It called all these scientists and everything. They came in and they figured out that it wasn't actually a lava eruption, it was steam. And Mount Baker had been belching steam for years, but something changed, the plumbing changed. All the steam came out. The scientist from Western Washington University in Bellingham, about 40 miles away, a guy named Don Easterbrook, he and his buddy, who's a stunt pilot, they flew into the crater. And they got these incredible photographs of the steam belching out and all this stuff that had changed, all the glaciers that were melting.
Oh my goodness.
Some of these amazing shots. Don says his late friend would turn the plane on its edge. They had the doors open, they had their seatbelts on. He'd be able to photograph straight through the open door because the plane was on its edge as they're doing these nutty things. I don't think they would allow that nowadays. But thank God they did, because they gave us an incredible peek into this volcanic activity.
Ask, what were they seeing? Like, did anything with the officials catch them by surprise? Anything?
Yeah, all this stuff had melted because they had pictures from the past where the glaciers were all in place, but all this stuff from the new steam activity was melting. The ash that had burst out was old ash. It wasn't new, fresh stuff. It was called tephra, this old broken up rock. So there's a lot of confusion. No one knew what was going on. There were also no instruments up there, so They had to quickly act to put up like seismometers and seismographs and stuff.
Did they close the park during this time too?
Well, that's what happened. They didn't know what to do. So in April, they didn't think it was going to erupt, but they thought that a big part of the volcano might break off in a landslide and inundate Baker Lake. So if I'd been down there with my mom and the boat and everything and my dad's bowl cut and everything, we would have been wiped out. So that summer, they shut down the whole of Baker Lake, all the campgrounds. We didn't get to camp there. Probably the only year we didn't camp at Baker Lake for probably a 50-year stretch on either side of that. So.
And the difference was just that the smoke was looking different, and that was kind of what got them
They said
panicking
the plumbing
a little?
changed, and there's a lot more thermal activity, but there are no earthquakes. And that's the big difference between Baker and Mount St. Helens 5 years later. When Mount St. Helens started to rumble to life, there's all these earthquakes detected. That means there's magma or molten rock under the surface. So that's when they knew, because of the work they'd done on Mount Baker in 1975, they knew that Mount St. Helens was more serious.
That's what I was
They got more,
helpful.
and they got more monitoring equipment in place. They took more steps to prevent people from getting in there. They shut it off. Of course, when Mount St. Helens erupted, 57 people died. It was a tragedy.
It is.
But volcanoes are a fact of life in the Pacific Northwest. They've been here forever. They predate everybody. They predate the indigenous population. They predate the European settlers. And they create this incredible scenery, these incredible places to ski or to hike or camp or climb, and then all the different areas around the mountains are gorgeous. So,
how long did the activity with Mount Baker last, too?
Well, there was that really sad summer of 75 when we couldn't camp there, but by the spring of 76, the scientists said, this steam stuff's been going on forever. For whatever reason, it was just more active the past year, but it's not going to hurt anybody or kill anybody. So we'll just keep an eye on it. No earthquakes or anything, so let's open the park again. So summer of 76, Baker Lake and the whole place was open again to the public, and it was a great year.
And I know you were touching on this, but what else do you feel like we've learned just looking at, Mount St. Helens and Mount Baker, and now where we're at?
Well, there's so much more monitoring equipment. Like Mount Adams a year or so ago, people thought Mount Adams might be coming back to life. So they quickly moved all this gear around and put in these different recording seismometers or transmitting seismometers so they could keep an eye on it. It's all about the science. They can get so much more data because of digitization and being able to transmit stuff. They can monitor something far more comprehensively than they could in 1975 or 1980.
Yeah, and right now, like we were just talking about, everything that's happened with tsunami warnings and so forth in the last couple weeks, it's top of mind. Everyone's always talking about the big one here. So speak to me about that and what you're hearing.
Earthquakes are a fact of life. We know in 1700 we had a giant earthquake here that wiped out parts of Japan and did damage on the coast. But things are being monitored. There's always more you can do. You can do personally to prepare. But we live in a very seismically active part of the world, and we just have to monitor it and pay attention and listen to the public officials and media people when they say to take notice. I mean, that's really all you can do. But then in the meantime, enjoy the beauty of it. I mean, if you have to prepare for the disaster, enjoy the view of Mount Rainier, enjoy hiking at Mount Baker, enjoy all the stuff that you get that comes along with the danger, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And do you think that people tend to forget how many active volcanoes are in the Pacific Northwest?
Oh yeah, everyone thinks about Mount St. Helens, everyone sees Mount Rainier, but Mount Baker, you don't see it as often, or Glacier Peak, which is kind of hidden on the backside of the Cascades. They're all active, they've all erupted sometime in the last several hundred or thousands of years, and they'll all erupt again someday. Whether or not it's in our lifetime, we have no idea, no way of knowing. Just have to be aware and pay attention and appreciate the history, because this is like deep history. I mean, we talk about history, we always talk about old photographs or some building from the 1920s. This is like real ancient history, and that's really cool.
I know. Talk to me about why you wanted to specifically talk about this topic. I mean, we know you're a historian,
I wanted an excuse to show that picture of myself and my terrible bowl haircut. Yeah, and it's very little improvement, really. I'm still using the same bowl at home. No, it's Mount St. Helens is so well known from that 1980 eruption, and justifiably so. But this activity in 1975 was such a great warm-up. It's such a great way of sort of priming the pump and letting the scientists know not only do we live in a volcanic area, they're occasionally very active, and this was a great way to get ready for it.
Yeah, and you have a podcast. Where can people find you? What are you talking about on your podcast so people can tune in?
It's called Cascade of History, and you can find it on any podcast platform. I broadcast live from all over the region. I present old audio tapes, archival stuff. I like history, but I really like the people who love history. That's my main attraction. Because the stories are kind of all the same, old pictures and all this, but the people who love it and are passionate about it, that's what I love. I love sharing their stories. So we have plenty of that at cascadeofhistory.org.
Yeah. Do you have a specific topic or what's next that people, a little teaser?
Well, we've been doing a lot with historic preservation lately. I want to go and do a live show somewhere at a building that's threatened with demolition while it's being demolished. I think that'd be kind of exciting to sort of have the sound of the bulldozers and stuff in the background and people potentially stepping up to protect it and that sort of thing. Because it's history, I don't like history that's sort of this day in history or kind of boring stuff. I like the active people really getting in and rolling up their sleeves and trying to save history. That's what I like.
Amazing. Well, we like you. Thank you so much for being here and spending time with us today.